Deleuze and Guattari as Rousseauian romantics. It is argued that Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed in what is called the noble savage. The following essay doesn't argue that Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari also believed that all schizophrenics were savages. However, it does argue that they believed that all schizophrenics were, in a strong sense, noble. This romantic view of schizophrenics is largely the result of Deleuze and Guattari's over-indulgence in theory and abstraction, as well as the rhetorical and poetical nature of their writings. Man in the state of nature. His faculties are so exercised and developed, his ideas so extended, his feelings so ennobled, and his whole soul so uplifted. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, The Social Contract. Men in a state of nature, his soul, which nothing disturbs, is wholly wrapped up in the feeling of its present existence, without any idea of the future. Rousseau, Discourse on the Origin and Basis of Inequality Among Men. Note, the single name Deleuze, instead of Deleuze and Guattari, will be used in this essay in order to save space and time. According to Deleuze and Guattari, capitalism causes schizophrenia. Deleuze and Guattari as Rousseauian romantics. The argument in this essay is that Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari consistently romanticized schizophrenics and the condition of schizophrenia. Indeed, this romantic element of the anti-psychiatry movement, which predated Deleuze's and Guattari's writings, had a large impact of psychiatrists, the arts, politics, and even on writers like Ken Kesey in his novel One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Although it can be said that Ken Kesey influenced this movement, rather than the other way around. Deleuze himself was tapping into a mainly French tradition that went back to Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Now consider this poetic passage from Deleuze, contact with the profound life of all forms, or all types of beings, who is responsible for even the stars and animal life, and who ceaselessly plugs an organ machine into an energy machine, a tree into his body, a breast into his mouth, the sun into his asshole. Great poetry. Is it more than that? Should it be more than poetry? Did many or any psychiatrists, schizophrenics, concerned citizens, etc., plumb the depths of Deleuze's words looking for strategic and hands-on advice when it came to schizophrenia and schizophrenics? Indeed, did political activists translate his ideas into concrete political strategies and goals? Now for another passage from Deleuze. As for the schizo, continually wandering about, migrating here, there, and everywhere as best he can, he plunges further and further into the realm of deterritorialization. Deleuze then wondered whether these peregrinations are the schizo's own particular way of discovering the earth. To Deleuze, deterritorialization is a good thing, no matter what form it takes. The schizophrenic captures, or even knows, what Deleuze called the real. What is the real? This, the demoniacal element in nature or within the heart of the earth, alongside the historical process of social production. It's worth noting here that Deleuze was influenced by Spinoza's monism. However, I doubt that the latter had much to say about the demoniacal. Yet, in a strong sense, people like Marquis de Sade, Nietzsche, and Foucault did. Indeed, to all these writers, violence and the love of power and violence were taken to be part of nature's demoniacal, though that word wasn't used, side. This is something that Foucault expressly stated in his words on revolutionary violence, though this is disputed, and his penchant for sadomasochism. Thus, much of this debate was dressed in terms of power, having an impact on mental health. And of course, capitalism incorporates power. The bosses have power, and those who support them have power too. Of course, it's all dependent on what's meant by power, and how that explains the link between capitalism and mental health, or schizophrenia. There comes a point at which power is interpreted so broadly that there's power literally everywhere. That means there are power relations between left-wing professors and their students, the leaders of revolutionary groups, parties, and their members, and even between radical journals and those people who read them. In fact, Michel Foucault, for one, did believe that power is everywhere, and he particularly noted it in the French Communist Party, PCF. Here's another passage from Deleuze. A schizophrenic out for a walk is a better model than a neurotic lying on the analyst's couch, a breath of fresh air, a relationship with the outside world. Of course, on the superficial surface, that romantic vision seems fair enough. But it's simplistic in that it suggests, or even states, that all schizophrenics like walks in the fresh air, and that they all become neurotics when on the analyst's couch or when institutionalized. In any case, Deleuze meant a model of a desiring machine. What did he mean by the word machine? Deleuze believed that everything is a machine. Indeed, the breast is a machine that produces milk, and the mouth a machine coupled to it. He also talks of the eating machine and anal machine. Basically, a desiring machine is a machine which desires, and desires should never be repressed. Readers should refer back to the words on de Sade, Nietzsche, and Foucault. Relevantly, a schizophrenic is repressed when found in mental institutions, in which he or she is a limp rag forced into autistic behavior. Deleuze also quoted Karl Jaspers in a note talking about madness in our time. Jaspers wrote that madness is a state of total sincerity in areas where, in less chaotic times, one would have been capable of honest experience and expression without it. So here we have the madman capturing the real, or at least being totally sincere. Earlier in another note, Deleuze had also quoted Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer, in which one character states that his gut spilled out in a grand schizophrenic rush, an evacuation that leaves me face to face with the absolute. The ego and the I. The following is Deleuze on the schizo. There are those who will maintain that the schizo is incapable of uttering the word I, and that we must restore his ability to pronounce this hallowed word. All of which the schizo sum up saying, "They're fucking me over again. I won't say I anymore, I'll never utter the word again. It's just too damn stupid. Every time I hear it, I'll use the third person instead, if I happen to remember to, if it amuses them. And it won't make one bit of difference." This seems to be tapping into the New Age, spiritual, etc. view about erasing the ego, I or whatnot, which was popular in the 1960s and after. According to Deleuze, it's not that the schizo can't use the word I, or that he doesn't understand its function. Instead, he simply believes it's a stupid word, and it doesn't serve a purpose for him. However, in the Samuel Beckett passage quoted by Deleuze, it serves at least one function. It's no wonder that Deleuze concentrates on a character in a novel by Beckett, because he rarely mentions real patients and their real experiences. The schizo says, "I won't say I anymore, I'll never utter the word again." That's right, the schizo uses the word I and I'll in a first-person way, and I as a reference to the pronoun. Of course, all this largely depends how we cash out this word I. It can be cashed out in Hume's deflationary and technical sense, etc. Or it can be seen as a substitute for what Deleuze calls the ego. Freud had a lot to say about the ego and what Deleuze called daddy mommy. According to Deleuze, the schizo has long since ceased to believe in it. Instead, he is somewhere else, beyond or behind or below these problems, rather than immersed in them. Freud the capitalist. Felix Guattari's criticisms of Sigmund Freud can be seen as an infight between psychiatrists at a particular period in history and in a particular set of places, i.e., mainly universities in France. To put it simply, Deleuze and Guattari took Freud to be a, not his own words, defender of capitalism. The problem here is that according to many Marxists, if someone isn't an explicit critic or enemy of capitalism, then that person, either implicitly or explicitly, must be a defender of capitalism. Indeed, if someone isn't a Marxist, then he, she, whether implicitly or explicitly, must be a defender of capitalism. Many of the criticisms of Freud also boil down to the Marxist idea that capitalism invented the nuclear family. Think here of Black Lives Matter in its early days and its criticism of the nuclear family. In simple terms, Deleuze liked schizophrenics. Freud, on the other hand, doesn't like schizophrenics. Indeed, he tended to treat them more or less as animals. Deleuze went on to say more about Freud's take on schizophrenics. They mistake words for things. They are apathetic, narcissistic, cut off from reality. In terms of being cut off from reality, Deleuze believed that schizophrenics were more in tune with reality or the real. As for mistaking words for things, this could be a way of characterizing, if slightly rhetorically, the philosophical mindset of many postmodernist and post-structuralist philosophers. Deleuze also showed his Marxist credentials by using the word idealism for Freud's psychoanalysis. Indeed, the term idealism, or see here, along with positivism, and see here, have often been used by Marxists and left-leaning philosophers about all sorts of non-idealist and non-positivist positions. In slightly more concrete terms, Deleuze believed that capitalism enforced fixed identities rather than multiplicity. Yet postmodernists, largely after Anti-Oedipus, and even Marxists have highlighted the fact that capitalism can tolerate multiplicity, as long as that multiplicity doesn't threaten das System. Slavoj Žižek talks of hybrid entities living comfortably within capitalist states or societies. Indeed, capitalism, with a Platonic C, even takes risks with identities, which do threaten das System. As it is, readers can happily agree with some, or even many, of Deleuze's criticisms of Freud's positions, and still not embrace Deleuze's own vision. Materialist psychiatry. In my last essay, according to Deleuze and Guattari, capitalism causes schizophrenia. I stated how Deleuze shoehorned Marx's terms and theories into his own work. Now take a look at the following two equations. Nature equals industry, nature equals history. What did Deleuze mean by all that? Of course, anything can be likened to anything. So nature can indeed be likened to industry, as well as to history. But what point did it serve? In 1972 and in the years before, there would have been a lot of pressure on left-leaning intellectuals and academics to incorporate Marxist ideas and terms into their work. Thus, Deleuze talked about his materialist psychiatry. Deleuze stated that his materialist psychiatry introduces desire into the mechanism and production into desire. So here we have the materialist, as well as reductionist, word mechanism, and the Marxist word production in a passage about psychiatry. Deleuze even tied Marx to his own interest in desire. He told his readers that, as Marx notes, what exists in fact is not lack, but passion as a natural and sensuous object. Marx used the word passion, not desire, but one can see what's going on here. To an outsider, it may seem odd to claim that a kind of psychiatry can be materialist. However, it was a specific kind of materialism Deleuze had in mind, Marxist or historical materialism.